Well, let's get into the papers now. Time now for the news review. We'll be joined by Dr. Asa Asante, who is with the Political Science Department at the University of Ghana. But for now, let's start with the major headlines from the papers, starting with the Daily Graphic. And it says, bringing back the splendor, parks and gardens set for action. If you've lived long enough in this country, you know about the parks and gardens and how in recent times we've left a lot of them to look like pale shadows of themselves. Well, the Department of Parks and Gardens will start the beautification of the medians, shoulders, and roundabouts of major roads across the country from February this year. The exercise, which will be done in collaboration with the Department of Urban Roads, will entail the planting of shrubs and flowers in the medians and the pruning of trees and the slashing of hedges to shape them. And so that is on, it's continued on page 3. Let me say a good morning now to Dr. Asa Asante, Director, Center for European Studies at the University of Ghana, political science lecturer as well. Doc, a very good morning to you.
Good morning.
It's a great pleasure to have you once more join the conversation. And I just started with the Daily Graphic newspaper. I'll just wrap with some of the headlines and we'll get into some topical issues. Now, venture capital fund to be recapitalized with $40 million. That story is on page 13 of the Daily Graphic newspaper. And of course, it has to do with startups. So the government is capitalizing the Venture Capital Trust Fund with $40 million to enable it to fund more viable startups in the country. The funding was secured from the World Bank Group to help revive the trust fund and strengthen it to provide funding for investors for the transformation of small and medium enterprises, especially viable young enterprises. What is going to be the full effect of this, though, on startups and on something as troublesome as unemployment, especially youth unemployment? Those are the big questions. Auction men's gold properties court orders, that is also on page 13. And the Financial and Economic Crimes Division of the Accra High Court has given the Economic and Organized Crime Office the green light to auction the properties of the defunct gold firm, Men's Gold Ghana Limited. The court, presided over by Justice Ifiasewa Asare Butche, gave the authorization following a motion filed by Iyoko, praying the court to allow it to auction the properties of the defunct company. So they have the green light now to go ahead. And another topical one, Ato Forson denies causing €2.37 million loss to the state. On the back page, Black Stars crash out of 2021 AFCON after losing 2-3 to the Comoros. And Nigeria to maintain perfect record tonight. So, Ankogula Ebekokona. We are not faring too well. In fact, we've crashed out, but our Nigerian brothers and sisters are still in there. And of course, why not root for them? We just might support them too. Rivalry aside. Anyway, those are the stories in the Daily Graphic newspaper. Doc, I know this isn't something we talk about a lot of the time, but our parks and gardens, I mean, you go way back enough. I know you know the history of them and what they used to be like and what they are now. Even I remember some years back, some of our locations for parks and gardens were now being taken over by private persons who somehow had secured the rights to these places for developments and all of that. There's a new initiative where the urban roads and the Department of Parks and Gardens are starting the beautification of medians and all of that. But again, if you recall the beautification projects we've had, none of them have really had any impact. What do you make of this situation?
Yeah, thank you, my brother. I think it's long overdue. Why am I saying that? We started well in this country, getting all our parks, to the scratch.
Right.
And all of a sudden, we lost the whole essence of having a beautiful park and all that. I am happy to hear that now we are set to go into action and get the basics right. My prayer is that we will continue to maintain the standard that we will set. Time and again, we tend to have, as soon as we take a decision, we slip back. And maintenance has been a serious problem affecting us in this country. So it's my hope and prayer that this time around, we'll do things differently and bring our cities to the shape that we want. Travel around the world, you see nothing but with beautification of cities, towns, and peri-urban areas. It's all about this park and gardens, the activities and all that. Why are we slugging here? So I think it is a wake-up call, and we have to do it well. If we're able to do it well, all well and good. It's for all of us.
The bit about Menzgold's property being auctioned, I mean, it's been a long-standing matter, years down the line. A lot of those who threw their sweat, their blood, their resources into Menzgold are still plaintive. They are complaining. But now we've been told that some of their property is going to be sold and all of that. What are your quick reactions? Recently, I heard of another group that was offering mouth-watering interest rates to citizens, and how the SEC and all of that had come into the fray. But the Menzgold matter still remains an albatross round the neck of not just government but ordinary Ghanaians. Now some of their property is going to be auctioned. For you, how much of a positive news is this?
Yeah, as you rightly pointed out, this has been a very thorny issue. And then the good news is that the court has taken the matter on board, and then they are handling it. We want to see how best the court does it, so that it will bring, life back to people who invested in that venture. I know that once such a decision is being taken, and the court is involved, they'll be able to carry it through perfectly. Let's hope and pray that we get there perfectly.
Let's look at the Ghanaian Times newspaper now and some of the topical matters. President mourns death of former Malian President Ibrahim Keita. There's also the bit about Ato Forson and those 2.3 million euros, the ambulance case. It's still in there. Ato Forson, 2 others granted bail, and other stories will tell you that his passport has been confiscated. Brouhaha over semester calendar. GES teacher unions to meet over agitations. That story is on page 18. And let me take a swipe at it. It says the management of the Ghana Education Service has assured that it would continue to engage the various teacher unions and other stakeholders to address all concerns raised about the new school calendar. Doc, let me run some of those concerns by you. The teachers are saying, the teacher unions, I'm talking about TEU, I'm talking about CCTGH, I'm talking about NAT and NAGRAT, they are saying, you did not consult us in this process. In fact, some of the think tanks like Africa Education Watch and IFEST are also complaining. You had no consultation with us. You went ahead with this. We are the ones going to teach. We're going to spend extra hours. We don't even know what benefits we're going to get from this. Again, they are talking about the fact that the learning hours are too long, even for kindergarten students. I mean, you are talking how many hours? Up to about 6 hours in a day. And you're talking about 20 weeks. You're a university lecturer. Not even university students go for 20 weeks. So these are some of the matters that have been raised. How do you feel about this entire semester system at the basic level, Doc?
It's very, very unfortunate, to put it bluntly, that why do you want to take a major policy decision without involving the stakeholders? Right. This is a sorry story, to say the least. Because, look, it takes 2 to tango. You need all the stakeholders to be part of this process so that you make it a reality. Why is it that the ministry is sort of appropriating the whole process to itself and leaving all the stakeholders who are the movers and shakers of the process? It's very unfortunate. I don't get it. Because look, all these groups work for the common good of our children and for the schools. So whatever decision you take, you need to involve them. In public administration and even in political science, so to speak, any decision you take, you involve stakeholders so that they become part and parcel of the problem and part and parcel of the solution. The essence is that when that issue is taken, when that decision is taken and you involve them, they become what? Owners of the decision. They defend it when the issue comes on attack. here you are. You see how they are attacking the process, and it's simply because you refuse to do the needful. They should what? Put their house in order and get the basics right. It's a very simple matter. I am even surprised to hear that you want to go for 20 weeks and all that. Where did they get that theory from? I'm so surprised, because even at the university, we run 13-week semester, 13 weeks. And why do you want to engage kindergarten boys and girls for very long hours to study and all that? Please, GES, this one, I'm sorry to say, you need to go back to the drawing board and get the basics right. Involve the people, let them come out with what? Professional advice, not any type of advice that somebody dreams of and want to implement. We don't run a society like that, and for that matter, the state. It is a sorry story.
Well, Ms. Cassandra Chuma-Mpofu has indicated she's in charge of public relations at the GES, and she has said that they're going to keep engaging the teacher union. In fact, they're going to start, I should say, because some of that was not done initially. But we've also heard from the GES, one of their deputy directors, who has said that, I think Dr. Tando, who has said that they are not going back on this, that the semester system will stay. It's something they're going to do. Moving forward then, what do you think should be the approach of the teacher unions in the face of this? Because it appears the GES has dug in its heels and they are saying, we are going to do this anyway.
You see, there's nothing wrong coming out with a beautiful policy, but you need to get stakeholders in so that they strengthen the frontiers of that policy if there's a need to do that. Why are they taking this type of entrenched position? Are they the ones who are going to drive home the policy? I'm so surprised. This type of pusher doesn't help any governance process at all. You need all those who matter in this case to be brought on the table to have their ideas on board. That is all. That's how we govern. Consensus should not be difficult for people to reach. They should always learn to build consensus. That's the way to go. But these days, looking at government push, I'm inclined to believe that it is losing that steam of what? Trying to get people around the table to discuss issues of importance that affect society. Government must up its game on that because it's not speaking well for government at all. And it doesn't help government business. You need to what? Build consensus. It is the way to go in a democracy, whether they like it or not. That is it. Because, look, you are not the one going to run the program at all. It is these teachers, these administrators, and all that. What is wrong involving them? I'm so surprised.
The crucial points you make there. Let's take a quick look at the august House of Parliament. There's a story there on page 28 of the Ghanaian Times newspaper. Will return to Parliament with e-levy and ensure its passage this month. That's according to Mr. Charles Edouboahin, Minister Deputy Minister of Finance, is it Minister of Finance at the seat of the presidency. Now, I want us to look at Parliament from different angles before we come to what Charles Edouboahin has been saying. And it has to do with your assessment of this 8th Parliament in its first year. We've seen them in the first year where it started and ended with fighting. But we've seen them with some major policy decisions as well. But when the budget came, it appears everything came crumbling down again. If you had to rate or assess this 8th Parliament for its first year's performance, how would you rate it on a scale of 1 to 10?
I always don't want to involve in rating and all that, but I want to bring the issues to the doorstep of the ordinary man. What type of parliament do we have? This is a parliament which is hung in nature. So if you want to run such a parliament effectively, all that you need to do is sharpen your skills about how to organize the parliament, and that is to do with what? Consensus. You try to build bridges, you try to build consensus, you need to talk to people, sharpen your lobbying skills and all that. You don't just come and surprise people with a budget, which part of it has a certain, controversial issue in there. All that you do is that you talk behind the scenes, lobby people, let people know the essence of having that bill pass. You see, if you are a student of politics, there is something we call state capacity. All there is to it is that you need to manage every state very well, given the resources that is in your hands. And to be able to do this, one cardinal principle you need to always remind yourself is that you need to get the people on board. One of such capacities is regulatory capacity. Another one is extractive capacity. Let's concentrate on the extractive capacity. It is the duty under extractive capacity. We are saying that the state has the power to, generate revenue to run the affairs of the state. So for me, I am in favor of any taxation that the state can derive to run the state. Fine. But for this particular levy, scholars in accounting, in finance, and in economics have said that given the circumstances we find ourselves, it will be so difficult for people to bear this type of tax. So why don't you peg it between 0.5 and 1.0? Our government saying, look, take it or leave it. We are running now, running to town with 1.75. For me, very, very unfortunate. You need to build consensus on that. James Otis has said that if you want to really come out with a budget, all right, which is the role of the executive, sending it to parliament, you need the approval of the people. And this we are saying that if the people don't approve, then why do you want to send a bill to parliament? Why you don't get the approval of the people in place? No, you need the people's consent for the bill to go through. So you need consensus and all that. Government didn't do this work, and that is why we are in this state that we find ourselves. Very, very unfortunate. I think now government, all that has happened, government will reflect on it and then do the needful so that they get this bill passed and run the affairs of the state. As it looks, as we find it now, it is very difficult to see whether the government will be able to marshal forces to get this thing passed. For the government to succeed in this area, they need consensus. Consensus is the way to go. Talk to people, explain the rationale. And once you explain to them, listen, have a listening ear, listen to them. Because governance, it is a process where we discuss, with dialogue. It is not a monologue where you said, take it or leave it. That for me, it is not the best for government at this time of the day where government want to go ahead with its fine projects and then leave a legacy that will stand the test of time. Let us remember that you can never win any elections in this country when you have no records. Election is nothing but contest of ideas and a referendum of your work. Right. What work are they going to show to the people?
What do you think, though, about... So you think that, it's a tax. Government obviously needs this tax. Some would say it is on the ropes, economically speaking, but government has rebutted that. But the point is, government needs to generate these funds to be able to run the state. But at the same time, people have complained about, can we reduce it from 1.75? Is that feasible for you? What percentage do you think, from where you sit, would be feasible? Because I keep pointing to the fact that a neighboring country wanted even 0.2% in terms of an electronic levy. And the people said, no, we don't want even 0.2%. But we are thinking of 1.75. Do you have any take on that? Do you think we could reduce the percentage?
Yes, I have said that. I'm not an economist, you know for sure. Right. But all that I'm saying that economists and people with knowledge in this area have said that between 0.5 and 1 will be reasonable to bear. So this is where the conversation must start, so that at the end of the day, you arrive at a amicable, tax component that will be easy for people to handle. The essence of governance is to make life better for everyone. So if you want to derive so much in terms of tax and people will feel very uncomfortable, people will not be able to make ends meet, then it's an exercise in futility. Government must get this thing straight. We don't need to belabor the point at all.
Let's do Republic Press newspaper. Court issues bench warrant for arrest of Deputy Minister of Tourism. One nabbed for smuggling narcotic drug into Wager toll booth police cell. There's Ashanti Region Police rescue baby an abandoned vehicle at Dakojom, and Atoforsen's passport seized. There's also Otumfor fires salvos. It has to do with some chiefs under his jurisdiction whom he feels are being treated unfairly, threatened in certain cases. But this one is what I want to focus on, Doc. Shameful. That is the scream by the Republic Press newspaper. Shameful as Black Stars exit AFCON winless. 40 years in the wilderness when it comes to, securing the AFCON title or the African Cup of Nations trophy. And this is going to be another botched attempt. When you turn to page 13, there's another story there. It's Kwesi Yanka's viewpoint. And he says, "Weep not, Jan, weep not, Ghana." That is the headline there. Something that I just wanted to run by you, though. There's been a response to, the Fix the Country group. They actually wrote to the high office of Mr. President, pursuant to Article 146 of the 1992 Constitution, asking for the removal of the chairpersons of the Electoral Commission, the chairperson and the deputies, in respect of what has happened in SAL, Santro Kofi Likpe, Lolobi, and all of that. And now a committee has been constituted, 5-member, I believe, and the matter is going to be taken up. Do you feel it remains, how would I put it, something dastardly that we've done to the people of SAL that we've still not rectified, even heading into another election in 2024? They don't have representation. How do you feel about that matter? And do you feel this is justified, the call for the removal of the EC boss and their deputies on the back of the said injustice that has been done to the people of SAL?
It is this injustice that has sent the matter to court that they are looking at. Let's give the court the time to reflect on this and come out with a solution that will stand the test of time. But if you look at it generally from point of view of elections, any election where people are not part, where some people are not made part of the process, it becomes a difficulty, an aberration, a misnomer. So if you want to grow your democracy, we want to get everybody, that's what we call universal adult suffrage. Anybody who has reached the age of voting and by law is qualified must be part and parcel of what the process. What we saw in that place is a very unfortunate situation. But my joy is that the matter is before court. The court will handle it, and then they give us the best solution that will stand the test of time.
When you go to the Daily Guide newspaper, Lands Minister pledges more action. I'm talking about Samuel Abu Jinapor. He's been speaking recently on state broadcaster GTV. But one thing I recall from yesterday was the fact that there was talk about, in dealing with the Galamsey menace, he's saying that we'll need about 4 to 5 years to deal with major problems when it comes to illegal mining or illicit mining and its consequences on our water bodies. The turbidity levels and all of that are still exceedingly high. And this is where it gets interesting. In recent times, we've heard from the Ghana Water Company Limited, Stanley Mate and others speaking for them, saying that we're getting to levels where a lot of our, owing to the dry season or the Harmattan and all of that, our water bodies are drying up. In some places, you can only abstract or extract mud, and so it's increasingly difficult. And when they do get water sources, treating them so that the water is usable, domestic use and all of that, is an exceeding hurdle. If you put that side by side with the fact that the Lands Minister is saying it's going to take us 4 to 5 years to deal with this menace, which is also affecting our water supply, some green groups, eco groups have said, no, this timetable of 4 to 5 years. I mean, will you even be in power by then? Would you even still be Lands Minister? So many questions. What's your reaction?
My reaction is very simple. We have failed as a state to do what is right for ourselves and for the generation yet unborn. Simple, very simple matter. Why am I saying that? This issue of Galamsey, we have approached it with in a form of lip service. We are not paying serious attention to it. We play politics with it. We make it campaign issue and all that. And when we are giving the mandate, we are not able to rise up above what board. Why? My simple view is that we don't want to do it. Simple. Because if
we don't want to do it, basically the political will is not there. It's not really there.
Where is the will? Where is the will? Because see, we are talking as if the Galamseyers are coming from other parts of this country, other part of Africa, or not in this country. They are here, right here. If you go to the constituency, even or where these activities are taking place, even small boys and girls there, when you ask them, they can tell you who and who are engaging in. And government has turned what? Blind eye on this for over the years. And they only come to what? Rationalize one manner of theories. We don't want to fix it. That is all. Because if we want, we'll be able to apprehend these people, come out with a policy that will stand the test of time, and deal with the issues head on. What are we doing? Now, the reality is staring at our face that we are going to what? Have crisis in water. What about even food production? And even the ecosystem we are destroying with impunity. And yet, all that there is to it is what? Come and what? Rappers with stories, justifications, and all manner of propaganda. We are not helping the state at all. We need leaders who are bold and can face it and damn the consequence. If you chart such a path, and even people, you become an unpopular minister or unpopular DC and all that, let it be. Your work will stand the test of time and posterity will judge you. We don't have the political will. We must what? Say it that. There is nothing like a timetable that would, we know how to deal with this thing head on. Look at how the president handled the issue of what, party boys who are the warring the state and all that. He sent a bill to parliament and made sure that anybody who engages in that type of program, you are going to jail and all that. It is this approach that we need to deal with this type of problem, which has been an albatross around our neck. It is very unfortunate that we lack the political will. Governance is for people who have the political will. If they think they don't have the political will, they must look for alternative people who can deal with this issue. And in politics, issue of favoritism, nepotism, and then chronism should be a thing of the past if you want to address problem head on. That is the way to go.
Two quick ones I want to run by you very quickly, and then it will be done. But before that, the Ghanaian publisher Catholic Children's Hospital project takes off. That's an interesting bit there. The first one has to do with SIM re-registration. And the other day I was asking you about it. Have you been able to register? Have you been able to?
I have not tried. I am scared with the stills that I see. But I want to believe that sooner than later they will do something about it so that all of us will get on board and do it peacefully.
Okay, so I'll give you some good news, at least from my end. On Sunday, to be fair, my church, my parish, organized a session. I have 3 of them, both, Airtel, Tigo, Vodafone, and MTN. The queues were not so long, so I was able to register my Vodafone and my Airtel Tigo. It's left with my MTN. The queue was pretty long, so at least I'm looking forward to what will happen from here. But the NIA has raised doubt about the quality of NCA's biodata collection. In fact, they've put a statement out there that points to that. And the NIA, of course, has our bio details that the NCA could be feeding into. Do you still have major problems with the process so far? I mean, the queues, yes, they may have gone down, but queuing is still happening. What more can we do in this respect?
You see, when we plan and plan properly, we'll be able to address problems in no time. The NCA, the National Card, they have done a very great job by putting into their system a lot of data that we need to address problems like this. I have read about where Professor Tifa is questioning the exercise they are doing from the perspective that, look, what you are looking for is already captured into the system.
Exactly.
So why are we in this quagmire? Why are we in this difficulty? If we are able to link institutions together, we get proper briefs, proper orientation, we shouldn't have difficulty in handling these things. Look at man hours being spent for nothing. An exercise that should take a minute or 2, at most 5 minutes and all that. Today you have to go there and spend all the time there to get a SIM registration done and done properly. We need to be able to get our acts together and then ensure that digitization works for everybody. Look, data and digitization have come to stay, whether we like it or not. No government can change this. And that is why I am for digitization and data, management throughout this political system, because it is the way to go. Once you get the infrastructure right, once you get your information, you get everything, there is very little that you have to do in order to achieve results. We need to come abreast with time so that it will address the lingering challenges that we have in our society once and for all.
Let me just sneak in this for all of you who are watching us. Fuel price increases, imports up by 57% and at the pumps 33%. What impact would all of this have at the fuel pumps? Well, only time will tell. But Doc, thank you so much for joining us for another Wednesday morning, and we wish you the very best of the working day.
Most grateful. Most grateful.
Dr. Asa Asante is a political science lecturer. He's also Director, Center for European Studies at the University of Ghana. This is where we actually wrap it up for the news review. Coming up next, sports, and we're going to go heavy on the Black Stars. Do stay.